Hi guys, welcome back to another Forming the Forehand video. Today we're gonna add an inch into this sucker. We're gonna add the hips. Let's get started. So you've got your grip, we've got the upper body unit ready to turn, right? But how does this whole thing actually start? Last time, if you remember, I was working from the goalpost and showing you how the hand kind of goes last, right? Well, what actually starts this whole thing? It's actually the lower body that starts this whole thing, right? So you'll hear sometimes, if you ever listen to pros or someone who throws a forehand really hard, you'll hear a nice big stomp on the tee pad, right? That's because it's kind of important. But there's a way to start using the lower body properly, and there's obviously a way not to do it. Let's go over the not to do first. So we've got this set up where we're on our back leg, we're loaded up, we're traveling in the air normally, right? And then we land heel first, right? And we're kind of stepping on this foot, stomping on this foot, right? So we go down into this foot, and the question from there is what happens? How do our hips open up and what causes them, right? The wrong way to do this would be to take this back foot and twist it forward, right? And just go boom, and twist around like that. That's the incorrect way. So we don't want to start spinning this back leg and clearing the hip that way. There would be no need to really stomp. If you're gonna do that, you would just land and twist really quick, right? So that's kind of a trouble area that I see a lot of people get into with the hips, right? Instead, what we do is off of this back leg, we push kind of this way. So instead of twisting this toe forward and trying to push off of that, we're pushing to where it's essentially a side step like this, where we're going forward, moving this way. So my foot would come up more like this than twist forward like this, okay? Distinction there, but quite important, right? So we are doing this move towards the front foot, not this move and twisting our hips forward as we go to step. So the correct move looks like this. We're stepping forward and our foot's starting to flare open. We're not stepping forward and our hips starting to flare open. That would be firing them early. Okay, so we step, the foot hits, my hips are still towards you, and then I start my front leg press, and it's this kind of press up that starts de-weighting this back foot, very similar to the backhand in that regard. Right, so it starts pressing up here, and then my front hip, that's my left, starts moving actually away from the target. So it clears left and back. It's really important that it does both of those things and not that it just stays in place and you rotate here. Also, that press there will help us avoid an issue that's super common with forehands where you see guys go like this, and they just sink into this front leg and then throw, and they're staying super low. Sometimes we see pros with a more bent leg, but you gotta pay attention to the hip and how they're actually resisting and pressing off of that front leg. So do this with me. Start with your setup here, get your front heel down, a little bit of bend in that front leg, and now I want you to start pushing up there. So push up. You can put your off hand on your hip, actually push up and let it press back. So now we have our hips more or less rotating in place instead of swinging our trail hip just around and leaving this lead hip in place, right? So again, that move looks like this. Here, press. And what you should notice is that if you left your arm here, when you do that press, automatically your hand's going to start moving forward, right? You don't even have to use your arm at all to move it forward. This is the great challenge of throwing further and further on the forehand side, is learning to leave your hand back more and more and let your body stretch away from it, right? And that all starts here with this. All right, here we go. Got my stack of discs here. Pressing here, having that hip go back. See my arms forward. Don't have to worry too much about the arm delay. If it just starts moving like this, that's fine. So a couple of the early reps might look like this. Here. It's not gonna be much. You're just looking for the body to lead the hand. It's cold out here, boys and girls. Here, here. Leaving the hand for as long as you can. You can tell what kind of wind we have.
More this time around, it's going to be wind.
Now, after that, you want to try to let your hand lay back for as long as possible. We're going to start working with a little bit of separation here, right? Still not working with any walk up. Just here, let the arm lay back now. You can see if I was holding, let me go to the goalpost real quick.
Yeah.
Actually. So before, that practice kind of probably looked something like this. Where it was here, as the hip moved, the hand moved. Now what we're gonna try to do is make it to where when the hip moves, the hand doesn't move, the hand waits. And now you can see me stretching away from the disc. Okay, so the rest of my body is going to start stretching away from the disc. My chest's gonna start opening up, my hips are gonna start opening up towards the target. I'm gonna try to leave my hand back there. Now, the longer you can leave your hand back there, the more distance potential you have, right? Probably important to note at this point in time that the idea of driving forward with your elbow, probably not the best cue for most people, right? Because now you're gonna try to push this goal post forward with your hand, not gonna work. Better to leave the hand back, and now, once we stretch, we get the elbow in front of the hand naturally, right? Instead of forcing it forward here, and now you have no power and an injured arm, right? So now we're gonna work on just leaving the hand back as long as possible before we snap. Here we go, so leaving the hand back as long as possible. We're gonna try to keep this disc almost in place with how long I leave it back. Here, yep. Just trying to increase that separation. You can only do so much at a low speed, but feel like you're waiting forever. Yep. Okay. Now, if you want, you can work this into a little one step, right? Before we start going into walk up. So, nice little one step. That crosswind is brutal. Back towards the bag so we don't have a massive headwind. Little rock. Oh. Well. There's some wind.
There it is.
There's just no winning with this wind, but okay. All right, so that's the homework there. We're just trying to get the engine in this sucker. We're not worried about driving too fast right now. This is probably, I mean, for most of you who are like, I don't need much on the forehand side. I'm kind of a backhand guy. I just don't want it to be totally awful. Right, I want 250 or something like that. This might be where you end your journey with me. If so, thanks for checking out the forehand series so far. Next piece is going to be footwork and walk up if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So, until next time, peace.